Hello, we are presenting our new concept of tracking box. It is MT300N. With this device we can implement different video matrix and interesting audio tracking with multiple cameras. Let me enter in the basic concept for this product and also the basic setup to start working with the product. The first is what means MT300N. M means matrix, T means tracking, and N is because NDI. This system is a decoder and encoder of NDI. A video matrix can allow you to have multiple cameras in a room, and you can very simple change with different layouts. With one single click or with the external device, you can change the different matrix, the different layout that you are connecting to your computer, to your Teams rooms, etc. The audio tracking will allow to implement a very interesting function. You can have multiple cameras, as we have here, and you can have multiple microphones, ceiling microphone or table microphones, and then you can get that the system automatically selects the camera that is focusing in the speaker. So it's really convenient. It's very simple. Let's see different application for this kind of products. For example, as we mentioned, rooms with multiple cameras. It is a very easy solution to switch between different cameras and also to have compositions, matrix of different cameras together. Also, we can have training or meeting spaces that require to implement complex audio tracking with multiple cameras and multiple microphones. Also, we can have rooms that you can have cameras with different technology. In the example today, we will see that we are connecting cameras via HDMI, via USB, via NDI, for example. And then you can unify all the cameras, even with different resolution, and you can get an output of 4K, because it's also an scalar. Also, you can have large spaces that really need to do streaming to a content platform like YouTube, Twitch, etc., that you can have multiple cameras in when one single click you are streaming these cameras with different layout. Remember, it is the basics. It's a matrix, so you have inputs and you have output. In the input, you can have up to 7 video signals. Video signals means cameras, a computer connected via HDMI, or any video resource that you have in your network or in your room. You can combine HDMI, USB, IP, etc. In the output, what we have? In the output, we have layouts combining all the inputs. You can have manual layouts that you can easily switch, or you can have auto switching between different matrix, that is auto switching by audio activation. The output could be HDMI, USB, or IP or NDI. We will talk about this. Remember that the input is full HD for all the signals, and the output is 4K, up to 4K. About the physical connections, in the front part of the product, as you can see here, you have the power button that in general you don't need to use because it's automatically power on. You have a reset button in case that you want to reset to factory default. Also, you have some status lights that is informing about the USB connection and so on. You have 2 USB ports to connect to your computer, to the room empty air, something like that. Or if you prefer, you can use HDMI output. We will see more about this. In the rear part, in the back panel, you have the inputs. In this case, you can have power, or if you prefer, you can connect PoE+. Then you can power directly with the network port, so you don't need to use the power adapter. You have 2 Ethernet ports. Our recommendation is to use the top one, that is PoE, but also can access to all the functions. The reason of having 2 Ethernet ports is because in some installation, maybe microphone and cameras are in a different network than the administration network. So it is the reason to have 2 physical network ports. But in general, the connection is made with the top connector and is enough. Here you have the HDMI input, that you have 3 inputs for HDMI. You have 3 USB that you can connect different cameras, but in the port number 3, USB number 3, you can connect the audio that is coming from the DSP or from the microphone, and in this case you will have video and audio embedded together in the output. In the output, USB, HDMI, NDI, RTSP, or even RTMP. Here you have a very interesting solution that is a serial port that allows to connect via this accessory the control via serial port with different cameras. The cameras we will see that we can control in different ways. One of the ways is via serial port. The last one is the Kensington port to secure the device. This device can be installed behind the table. You can connect, you can attach, or you can put in a rack, or you can secure in any space using the Kensington. How we can control the system, or how we can configure? Well, you can control via web user interface. Using a laptop or using a tablet or any device connected to the same network, you can access and you can configure, and also you can switch the different matrix or operate with the system. Another interesting way to work with this device is using third-party devices and our integration API. It is just an example how we can send a command to the system, in this case, to change the profile. We will talk about this. It is the basic configuration in a room. Here you have different ways to connect. You don't need to connect all the cables in this way. For example, you can connect 2 cameras or multiple cameras connected via Ethernet network cable directly to the switch of the room. The microphones you can connect also via IP, and the tracking box is connected via IP to the network. Then you have control and image from the cameras and the control of the microphones to read the status of the microphones via IP. In the output, we can connect via HDMI to a monitor, or we can connect via USB to the room computer. We will talk about this. If you don't want to connect via IP, you can connect the cameras via HDMI or via USB. Let's review some basic concepts to understand the architecture or the logic of the tracking box. When you start to configure the system, you are going to think about devices, profiles, and the output. The first concept is the input, what we can connect to the system. We can connect cameras or we can connect microphones in the inputs. Cameras could be connected via USB, as we mentioned. If we connect via USB, you have video and control of the camera. You don't need any additional connection to the camera. You can connect via HDMI. If you connect via HDMI, you can receive the video from the camera. But the control to move the camera from the tracking box need to be done via IP or via serial port. You also can connect via IP RTSP or IP NDI with this network. You are connecting with a single network cable the camera, and you can have the video and the control of the camera. The last one is the serial port RS422, that in this case is to control a camera that, for example, you are receiving the image using HDMI. It could be an example. The microphones. The microphones, via IP, we have the control. We are going to read the status, what microphone is activated to send the camera to track the person, okay? But additionally to this, if you have a DSP or your microphone have a USB output, you can connect the USB output of the DSP, the audio processor, or the microphone to the port number 3 in the tracking box. In this case, as mentioned before, you are going to embed the video and the audio in the outputs. It is very, very convenient to have one single cable to connect to your laptop or to the team rooms or any other device. It's really, really convenient. It is regarding to the inputs. Regarding to profiles, it is the most important concept when configuring this device. Profile. A profile in the setup defines how the outputs are going to be done. What is the output of the system? You can have two kinds of profiles. Could be manual or could be automatic. When we talk about manual, we are talking about a fixed layout, a fixed matrix. So you can create a profile that is manual, that is a layout, that you can select different cameras and you can compound the image. So in the output, you will have the matrix with the cameras that you have selected. Could be picture-in-picture, side-by-side, one single camera or multiple cameras. You can create different profiles and you can switch this profile manually using the web interface or using the API from a third-party device. The second one is the automatic layout, is the automatic profile. In this case, the layout is activated by audio. So the first thing in this kind of profile is that you are going to select a layout. A layout could be one camera or multiple cameras, and it's going to switch depending of the audio channels. When you are creating this profile that is automatic, after selecting the layout, you need to create different groups. What means a group? A group is the combination of a camera with a microphone. You can have up to 35 combinations, 35 groups per profile, and you have 9 profiles. So you have a lot of possibilities in this system. This group is going to define what camera you want to, what camera and what preset you want to trigger, you want to select when a specific microphone channel is activated. Imagine you have camera 1, camera 2. Camera 1 will be one group, camera 2 will be the second group. Both cameras could be connected to the same microphone in the group. Group 1, group 2. When camera 1, more specific, when the channel 1 of the microphone is activated, maybe you want that camera 1 is selected, is in the output with the preset number 1, for example, or number 2. And then when you have channel number 3, for example, is the camera number 2, that is the group, the second group, is activated and is showing the person that is talking from this area. So creating the different groups allows to switch automatically the different cameras or the different layouts. So it's very, 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 very simple. Also in the group configuration, you can select other parameters, for example, the timers. When the person stops talking, the camera can return to a specific preset. Or, for example, when you have more than one person talking, the camera can go to a specific preset to make sure that everybody is in the image, in the capture. So you can play with different values. There are more, of course. About the outputs, remember that all the outputs are showing the same content. So USB ports, HDMI, NDI or RTMP, YouTube streaming, are displaying the same content. You can embed the audio if you are connecting to the port number 3, USB number 3, as mentioned before. What outputs we have in this system? USB, you have 2 ports, but they are not simultaneous. You have one port number 1 have more priority, is the highest priority. Usually, it is connected to the bring your own device, to your laptop. And the second one is the lowest priority that usually is connected to the room computer. That could be, for example, an MTR. So, if the system is connected to the MTR, if one day you want to start the meeting from your laptop, you only need to connect your laptop to the port number 1, the cable is in the table, and automatically you get all the cameras, all the control, all the matrix. The second output, that is simultaneous, is the HDMI. You have 2 HDMI ports that have video and audio, if you are embedding the audio. And you get the same matrix that you are having via USB. In this port, you can connect to a monitor, to a recording system, or even if you need an additional USB port, you can use this kind of converter, that is an HDMI to USB converter, and then you have an additional USB port. You have 2 outputs, so you can have even 2 additional USB ports. The other output, and this is very interesting, is the NDI HX2. In this case, you can have the output in multiple endpoints because as NDI, you can have different computers receiving the video from the tracking box. The latency is very reduced because it's NDI HX2. And you can adjust the quality. You can play with the bandwidth, with the quality, with the frames. You can go to the setup and you can adjust. The other possibility, if you don't want to use NDI, you can use RTSP. RTSP is another streaming protocol that you can have multiple points and endpoints. You can adjust the quality, also you can set up the security, and the syntax is very simple. Basically, it's the IP of the tracking box and live ST1. It's similar to our cameras. The last one that is very important, if you want to use this box as a streaming server, you can configure your YouTube account or similar via RTMP protocol, or also we are supporting HLS protocol, for example, for connecting with YouTube. It's really interesting. And this output is simultaneous to the rest of outputs. If we want to do a quick setup of the tracking box, it's very simple. What you need? You need, of course, the tracking box. You need a network switch to connect all the devices together. You can have several cameras. These cameras can be connected via network or can be connected via USB, HDMI, NDI, RTSP, as you prefer. You can have microphones connected to the same switch, to the network, or even you can have an audio processor, for example, for embedding the audio or to do any audio improvement in the room. You can connect the DSP via USB to the tracking box. And of course, you can use a computer to do the basic setup or to operate with the tracking box. The most important to start is when you are powering everything is to know the IP of the microphone, because you need to, all the cameras, the tracking box, the computer and the microphone need to be in the same network, or at least they need to be, you need to access to all the devices from the same point. So the first you need to ask is what is the IP of the microphone. And then you can use our utility, IPCam utility, to search for the tracking box and the camera's IP in the network, and you can modify the IP to match the same IP range of the microphone. Or you can do the opposite. You can set the cameras and the tracking box IP, and then you can modify the IP of the microphone. The most important is that the microphones and the cameras and the computer that is going to do the setup are in the same network segment. It is important. Then, when we search for the tracking box, here you can change the IP if necessary, or if you double click, you are going to open the browser, and with the browser you can start the basic setting of the system. Let me show you how we can do a quick setup of the system. Here I have connected 3 cameras. I am powering the cameras using PoE, this switch that we have here, and I'm going to power the tracking box using also a PoE switch. So just I connect the network port to the top port. Then, when the system is powered on, the cameras could be connected in different ways. For example, I'm going to connect this Cam 520 Pro 2. I'm going to connect via USB cable. So I'm going to connect and I'm going to control this camera via USB. I connect to the first port. This camera is connected via network, via NDI or RTSP, and for example, this auto tracking camera I can connect using HDMI. I'm going to connect to the HDMI number 1. The outputs could be, as I mentioned, via USB. I can connect directly to the computer, via HDMI to any other system, or I can use NDI to receive the video from the tracking box from my computer. Let me show you how I'm going to do the quick setup of the system. Okay, let's show you how we can configure very quick this system. So the first thing, we are going to look, I have connected everything as I mentioned to the network, so I'm going to look for the, I select the network port using the AVer IP CAN utility. I'm going to search for the devices that I have in the network. Okay. Here I have the tracking box. If I need to change the IP, you can select the unit. You need to write the user and password. If it's the first time, it's admin, and then you can change all the IP details in the configuration. In this case, I'm going to keep the same IP, that is the default IP, because it's in the same network as the rest of the devices, including the microphone. So I'm going to double click to open the web interface of the system. The first time is admin. When I log in, it automatically is asking me to change the password. In this case, 123456. 123456. Make sure that you are writing properly, then change, and from this moment you can set again the IP to log in the system. Okay, I am already logged in the system. If I click in this icon, I can skip the wizard, I can start adding the devices. As I mentioned, the key of this system is to add the devices, then to define the profiles, that the profiles defines the output of the system. So let me add some devices. The devices could be cameras and microphones. For example, I'm going to add my microphone that is in this IP. In this case, it's a ceiling microphone. I save. Okay? I'm going to add the cameras that we have installed. In this case, the device is a camera. I'm going to select one of the cameras that is connected to the system. So I'm going to click auto search, and for example, I'm going to connect that camera, this PTC. I need to select the user and the password of the camera, 123456, 123456. And you can stream in via RTSP, you can receive the video via RTSP or via NDI. And you can put the name of the camera. In this case, I will select, for example, PTC IP. I add this. Then I can add, for example, a second camera that I have connected to the port number 1. And here it asks how we are going to control, how we are going to send the preset commands to the camera in case that you want to do an audio tracking. You can use IP, or you can use, for example, the serial port. If the serial port need to be connected, in this case, I'm just inventing this. It is a PTC HDMI, for example. Let me add another camera. In this case, is via USB. In this case, is a CAM 520 Pro. In this case, the control and the image is via USB, so it is the reason it's not asking about any IP of control. I already have created the different cameras. I can add more cameras if I have, or even I can add the same camera with different inputs, if you prefer, for any reason. Then I go to Profile. In Profile, remember that we have automatic or manual. In case of manual, it's a fixed matrix, fixed layout that you can select from single, side by side, it means 2 cameras, main speaker and 2 other cameras here, so 3 devices, or for example 4 or picture in picture. The maximum number of cameras that you can have in live are 4 cameras in this version. Also, imagine that I'm going to create a picture in picture layout. You can rename the name of the profile. For example, picture in picture, teacher, imagine. And I'm going to select the layout as a picture in picture. Then I can select, for example, the CAM 520 Pro here, and here one of the other cameras. I'm selecting that one. Okay. this profile is already created. Imagine that I want to create a second profile, imagine that I want to create a side-by-side with two cameras. I select manual, side-by-side, I'm going to select, for example, that one and that one. It's just an example. If I go to the live view, you can see that I have profile 2 or profile 1. That is a picture-in-picture. You can see the picture-in-picture. I can change very easy. Additional, you can change using the API and control from a third party. Remember that you always can rename any profile. In this case, imagine that is pupils side by side. It's just an example, okay? It is fixed layouts that you can switch manually, and it is the output that you have in the USB or in the NDI. I will show you via NDI. If I open the NDI monitor, for example, in NDI Studio Monitor, you can see that you are receiving the image. I can select the tracking box, so it is what we are receiving. I can switch the layout, for example, to teacher, and you can see in the Studio Monitor that now I have the picture-in-picture. Let me make it smaller, and then you can see that I can switch in the monitor. Okay. Let's go to set up a profile using audio tracking. In this case, we select another profile, imagine profile number 3. I'm going to select, we're going to rename as audio tracking, for example. We save. We already have the profile. We selected that is automatic, and you need to select the layout you want. Could be single, that means that you are going to switch between cameras at full screen. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, depending of the configuration you want to create. You can have side by side, that in this case are two cameras. Active speaker that you have on top, on large size, who is talking, and in a small size, the other cameras. Or even you can have a picture-in-picture. The most common is the single. Then you need to create different groups, one group per camera. Or even you can have more than one group per camera, depending of the combination that you want to do with the microphone. If you have one microphone and you have, imagine, 3 cameras, you are going to create 3 groups. The first group is camera 1, the second group is the camera 2, and the third group is the camera 3. In the 3 groups, they are pointing to the same microphone. But you can have a situation that you have more than one microphone. So always you need to create a group between camera and the microphone. And the same camera could be in 2 microphones. So you need to create 2 groups. So please create all the groups that you need to define the behavior that you want. Imagine that I'm going to create camera 1, it is the first group. I select the camera, in this case, for example, PTCIP. The microphone, I have only one microphone. Number of channels of the microphone usually is 8, but depending of the manufacturer, you can have more channels. And I add the group. From this moment, you can select different presets for the different channels that are activated. In this case, I have not a physical connection with the microphone, so you cannot see here the microphone that is activated. But imagine that the channel 1 of the microphone is activated, I can select that the camera goes to the preset 1. If we are talking about a auto-tracking camera, what you can do is when the camera is activated by audio, the camera can continue doing the human tracking, the built-in auto-tracking technology of the camera, presenter, sound, or hybrids. For example, a teacher talks, and the camera is going to automatically is going to trigger the preset. From this moment, the camera is going to start tracking the teacher using the auto tracking of the camera. But it is only for auto tracking cameras as our PTC series or DL30. So imagine that you are configuring for the different channels different presets. Then you need to add a second group for the second camera. In this case, I select the second camera, I select the microphone, I select the number of channels, and I repeat the same situation. The different channels are going to trigger different presets. And for example, in this case, could be you can select presenter or what you want. It is just an example. I can continue adding more cameras, more group. For example, it's cam 3 group. In this case, we select the last camera, the same microphone, and 8 channels. And we can repeat the same situation, that you can select different preset, etc. What we have in this system? We have in this matrix, in this profile, the name is audio tracking. The system is going to switch between the 3 cameras, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, depending of the activation of the audio channels of the microphone. In this case, we have only one microphone. So this combination should be very simple. But imagine that you want to add a different behavior. You can continue adding different combination of cameras and microphones, and you can enable or disable depending of the room configuration. So it's very, very convenient. Imagine a large room that sometimes is divided, so you can make the system to work in different ways depending if you are dividing the room or you are using the whole room. So it's really, really convenient. It is regarding to the settings. In another video, we will enter in more deeply detail about how to configure microphones and all the details. It is very important in every group, in each group, you can select timers. You can select the time that you need to talk to go to a specific preset. Also, you can select what the camera will do if you have multiple people talking at the same time. So you are activating several channels. You can send the camera to the preset number 0. You can save a preset that is an open view of the people. You can select the timer. Or for example, when nobody's talking, because it's the remote side talking, you can enable to go after several minutes, imagine 1 minute and 0 seconds, to go to the preset number 0, that again should be a preset that is an open view of the people in the room. You can select different timers for the different groups. Also, it's very important the group overlap priority. In case that you have conflict because you have activation of different groups at the same time, because it's referring to the same channel of the microphone, you can establish what camera is going to have the priority. In this case, I have selected the group number 3, the camera number 3, to be the most priority camera in case of the simultaneous activation of the same channel in the different groups. It is very important. It is regarding to the different profiles that remember that defines the layout, the output. In this system, you can select what is the resolution that you want. You know that the output is up to 4K. You can select, for example, the resolution to 4K. This system is a scaler. The streaming video output, you can select up to 4K, and you can select the different values for the streaming. In the network, remember that you have 2 network ports. Usually we use the top one, that is also PoE, so you can select the IPs. If you need to configure the second port, you can do here. You can select what IP range you want to use. From this page of the network, you can select the server, the YouTube server, for example, and you can select the stream key that you can copy from your YouTube channel and you can configure. By clicking Start Stream, you can start to streaming to YouTube or to the platform that you want. In this page also you can configure the RTSP settings or the HLS settings for streaming. If you want to add security to the web page, you can upload a certificate and you can secure the web interface of the system. In the NDI, you can configure everything related to the NDI infrastructure. In general, the most important is to make sure that the group, the NDI group, in this case the name is public, is the same group in all the cameras that you have connected. So in the settings of your camera, make sure that the NDI group, in this case, is public. But if you want to have a specific name, you can change, but make sure that the cameras you want to add need to be in the same group. You have additional security and discovery settings that you can configure from here. In system, of course, you have all the details of the system. You can do the firmware update. You can change the login, the password. Remember that you have an administration account and a limited user, that is the typical for the normal user. And you can change the language, or you can do a factory default, or you can import, export the different settings. Basically, it is the complete setup of the system. Thank you very much for your attention.